In the 1960s, European filmmakers reflected the dramatic societal changes of the time in their work. In Italy, while Fellini depicted the confusion and emptiness of modernity through excess, Antonioni did so by highlighting the empty spaces between people and within their hearts. This translates most evidently in his visual style. Antonioni paints with actors, and by placing them in empty spaces, he creates a sense of loneliness, of something missing.
The actor is an element within the image. A modification of his pose or gestures is a modification of the image itself.
While The Passenger begins with an inconclusive drive in the desert, L'Avventura takes place on a deserted rocky island, and then in abandoned villages.
C'è nessuno?
The key scene of Blow Up is set in an empty London park. Within these desolate places, he also frames his actors so as to emphasize their detachment further. Even when they're together, they're isolated within the composition, as if they were having different, parallel experiences. Some characters also parallel each other. They're almost each other's body doubles, revealing that they're interchangeable. In L'Avventura, a blonde becomes nothing more than a disappeared brunette substitute. And he's always aware of it.
Sembri un'altra.
In La Notte, both Lydia and Giovanni find romantic surrogates who look and dress like their partners. With this shot at the end of L'Eclisse, Antonioni makes us believe that Vittoria is coming to meet her new lover Piero, as promised. But the woman we see is not her. More directly, David Locke in The Passenger looks like Robertson, which helps him steal his identity. If people are presented like missing parts, so are objects. Sometimes they're heard, but remain off-screen. Reality itself appears fractured. This is most evident at the end of Blow Up, when Thomas throws the invisible ball back to the mimes. By adding sound to their tennis game, Antonioni transforms this fleeting reality and makes it seem more tangible. Eventually, people themselves disappear from the image. As in L'Eclisse, when Antonioni shows us the absence of the two lovers from the places where they had once been and were meant to meet again. But Antonioni's reliance on absence goes deeper, to the narrative level of his films. They tell stories of disappearances, a woman vanishing mysteriously,
Anna dov'è?
or a man abandoning his life for a new one. Or they center around the ultimate loss, death. It's the impending passing of an ill friend that sparks Lydia's emotional journey in La Notte. The photographer in Blow Up loses his cool when he witnesses a murder. And it is Robertson's death that gives Locke the opportunity to become him. Yet Antonioni's focus on loss goes even further. He uses absence and lack in the very way in which he constructs these stories of people vanishing. All of these films are very mysterious. It takes a while for the spectator to connect to them, because they begin in medias res. We are given a part of the character's story, a slice of life that is often only one day long. L'Eclisse starts with the ending of a relationship. La Notte finds its couple some years into their marriage and barely introduces them. We meet Locke as is in the middle of an investigation that remains vague to us. And although we are thrown into these unfolding stories, Antonioni doesn't rely on typical narrative tools such as flashbacks or exposition to provide us with key information about what led his characters there. Instead, it's through the protagonists' relationship with their past that we get to discover it, partially. The past haunts them, and is presented to us only through the fragments of it that remain. Objects or places that make its absence all the more evident and emphasize a sense of loss. In La Notte, Lydia visits a place that she and Giovanni used to know.
È strano, non è cambiato niente.
Cambierà. Cambierà molto presto.
The recorded conversation between Locke and Robertson brings the past into the room.
Well, I've been in so many places the last few years. Doesn't make any difference anymore.
The pictures in Blow Up are the photographer's only true connection to what happened and what he missed. But the characters all have a difficult relationship with the past. They resent it, or even wish they could forget it.
Ho cancellato tutto ciò che...
Because the past, although it's gone, is always there. Nothing ever ends. Sandro's relationship with Anna hovers over his romance with Claudia. Lydia can't help but remember how much Giovanni used to love her, and carries with her the love poem he's completely forgotten about.
Di chi è questa lettera?
Vittoria struggles to love Piero because she remembers past disappointments. Endings are always inconclusive, and so are the endings of Antonioni's films. Even after gatherings and pieces of information, we never arrive at a full understanding of what these characters are going through. The lack persists past the word fine. In a way, these films have no ending.
Isn't it funny how things happen?
Their mystery remains open.
All the shapes we make.
We never find out what happened to Anna.
Vorrei provare a stare un po' di tempo sola.
Ma se hai detto che è un mese?
A starci di più.
Nor what this murder was about. We don't know if Piero and Vittoria will ever meet again. In a 1980 speech about Antonioni, French philosopher Roland Barthes argued that endings suggest that destiny exists, and therefore that there could be such a thing as an absolute truth. For him, Antonioni doesn't impose meaning, but doesn't abolish it either. Rather, he works to disturb the psychological certitudes of realism. Contrary to those certitudes and to traditional narrative practices which dictate that a mystery is always eventually resolved, Antonioni builds his films on this continued absence of information. He invites us to decipher what happens during his films by wondering about what came before they started, and lets us imagine what could happen after they finish. By triggering this fill-in-the-blanks exercise, Antonioni asks us to wonder how his characters have lost their sense of meaning, in order for us to find our own. He hopes to make us approach not only narrative cinema, but reality itself, in a new, open way. We are invited to take responsibility for our own understanding of reality, because we have no choice but to live in it.
Wouldn't it be better if we could just forget old places? Forget everything that happens. And just throw it all away day by day.
Unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way.